Jack, it's been a while since we've been here. How are you?
I'm very good, mate. Yeah, it has been a while. I've missed it.
Yeah, but we're doing a one-off music special today because it's festival season and we've got someone great on.
Absolutely. Yeah, you and I would have been at a few festivals this summer, so it's a shame that we can't do that. But we've got kind of the next best thing. We've got Joe Emmett from the Amazons. He's the drummer for the Amazons, and he's coming on to give us a bit of insight into being in a band. What's life like on the road? They've just come back from I think 6 weeks in America. So it'd just be really interesting. You and I love our music, but haven't got a musical bone between us. So it'd be really interesting to get a bit of insight into being a part of a band, and I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm really excited about this one, so let's just get him on.
Let's do it.
Thanks for joining us, Joe. Actually, really interested to find out how lockdown has been for you guys, because obviously being in a band is probably 100 mile an hour normally. Has it been a welcome break for you guys?
It kind of did come at a good time because we literally came back from the States on the 1st of March, I think it was. And then I went on holiday for a week just down to Wales with my missus and the kids. And that's when everything started really kind of kicking off to do with COVID and, the talks of there being serious lockdowns. So we kind of hibernated in Wales for a bit and then came home, and then the lockdown happened straight away. So we spent 6 weeks in America, the band, starting in the South in Texas, going all the way down to Florida, all the way up the East Coast, and then driving across to kind of through Michigan and Denver. It was like the first time we'd ever done like a proper tour of the US as well. But I think everyone was kind of ready for a break from each other after that, so it did at a welcome time. Yeah.
So did you literally then, once you got back, and we'll touch on that tour in more detail later, did you just switch off for a few weeks? Did you literally not have any contact with your bandmates?
We did kind of have a bit of contact because we were trying to work out how serious this whole thing was going to be to the detriment of our kind of live business, really. And there was talk of like some festivals that the early May ones being cancelled and things like that. And so we were like, okay, well, is this going to go on for longer than that? As everyone else didn't, no one knew at that stage. So we were kind of chatting about that. But apart from that, we didn't have too much contact with each other, which is usually the way after a long stint.
So no practice sessions over Zoom or anything crazy like that?
No, to be fair, we've like, the further this has gone on, we've actually done some bits and bobs isolated. We did a cover of Lola by the Kinks recently, which was for Lola Day. We did that all isolated, and then we did an acoustic version of our single Mother, which we also did isolated, but I don't have any drums at home.
That's an issue.
And because I live in a flat, so I had to be a bit creative with hand claps in the bathroom and using like a dustbin as a kick drum with my hand.
Brilliant.
So that was quite good. So we've done bits and bobs together, but no rehearsing yet because we're kind of at the end of our tour cycle in terms of album 2, and now all our focus is on working towards album 3 at some point.
Excellent.
And Joe, tell us a bit about, Cal and I are both big sort of music fans, but neither of us have got any sort of musical talent at all. So the concept for me of writing a song, where on earth does that start? Who writes your songs for the band?
I think every band has a different formula of doing it. Matt, our lead singer, definitely kind of births the initial idea in very basic demo form at home, even if it's a voice note with an acoustic and him singing. And sometimes the more simple ideas that come to the rest of the band like that, you can already sometimes feel and hear like where the track's going. Like sometimes it's easier than a kind of a slightly more formed demo that he might have made. But so we, as the band, get that, and then we listen to it, we chat and say like, what do we like about it? And then before the lockdown and stuff happened, we would usually then take it into the rehearsal room and just blast it like as many times as possible, and everyone kind of forms their own identity within the song, like, because although Matt's not a drummer, he might have a particular rhythm in mind, but then I have my own, you know, creative space to make that my own, essentially. And it's the same with everyone, and everyone kind of pulls together to bring the song to being an Amazon song, because otherwise it would be a Matt Thompson solo record, and you know, he openly says that as well.
And this question, I know the answer is going to be how long's a piece of string, but I'm assuming that process can be 3 days or 3 months to get it to the Amazon song.
It can be years.
Wow.
It really depends. So, like, for an example would be Mother, which was the first single off our last record. That riff was actually a riff before I joined the band. They had that riff for a long time and just couldn't find the right kind of guys to use it in. And so I think Matt's got loads of bits and bobs kicking around like that, where it's too good to throw away, but it's also you've got to wait for the right time for it to make sense, or you know, to be used in the right way, rather than just using it for the sake of using it, if you know what I mean. So yeah, sometimes those processes of us writing a song, and as an example of something much quicker, there's a song called 25 on our latest record, and that was Matt came in, played the song on the acoustic guitar to us as a band, put his guitar on, and everyone just instantly knew what to play. It was like this.
Amazing.
I don't know how that happened. It doesn't happen very often, but you might get 1 or 2 songs per record that happen like that, which is when everyone just goes like, looks at each other like, well, why can't it be that easy all the time?
That must
that
be
was
an
going to be my
amazing
next
moment.
question. Yeah, that's going to be my next question. Like, how do you know when a song, even if you work on it for a real sort of long period of time, how do you all just look at each other and go, that's it, we've got it now, or who makes that final decision?
That's I don't think as a band you ever really feel like anything's particularly finished. You always have to. There's just a point where you have to draw a line.
Yeah.
You could tinker with like songs or little tiny nuances for ages, but some songs don't need it. But you know, some songs do need a bit more focus. But yeah, when you go into a studio environment with the producer and recording, usually you've only got a finite amount of time, depending on how big your budget is to record an album or anything like that. And so in that sense, it's like, well, if you've paid for 3 weeks studio time, you've only got 3 weeks to do a full record. So at some point, either the producer or one of us has to go, we've got to stop putting guitars on this track, on this like particular song, because there's no more room left for any more guitars.
Yeah.
Cool. So as Jack alluded to, we're both very musically challenged, although he does like a karaoke session. Neil Diamond's his favourite song.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Was music always in your life from an early age?
Yeah, my earliest memory that I can actually remember is pulling out the pots and pans and just kind of banging them. And now I've got my own kids. I thought, like, at the time, I was like, oh man, I was like destined to be a drummer. Like, I really thought that was the thing. But now I've got kids, and I realise kids bang anything you give them. And it's really taken away a little bit of magic.
Yeah.
that particular thing. But I do remember doing that, and my mum playing the Beatles records. That's quite a vivid memory for me. And then I think my godmother, her boyfriend at the time, played the drums, and he was a drum teacher. And it felt kind of natural because of the banging, I guess. And I showed some kind of interest in music for me to have drum lessons. So I started having drum lessons with him when I was about 7 years old, I think.
Okay, yeah, wow.
And then music's always been a part of my life. But yeah, definitely from an early age, I definitely had an interest in it for sure.
Excellent. And then how did it go from an interest to something that you wanted to take really seriously? And then I guess the follow-up question is, how did the band form?
I was just always playing in bands at school. You always start out playing with your mates or whatever, and depending on different, people's ability, you might start playing with your best mates, but one friend has just picked up the bass guitar, so he isn't particularly, proficient or whatever, and then you kind of move. I don't know. There's this kind of natural thing where I think you kind of gravitate to people that are probably more on your level, and then the band that you're in, I don't know, becomes slightly better. Or I've been in so many bands, and the only way I've kind of known is just to go from band to band until I found something that I really thought was going to work. Which was then finding the Amazons, who were actually a band called Peers before that, and there was just the three other guys, Matt, Elliott and Chris, and their drummer had left, and I was playing in another band at the time, and we got chatting, and I'd heard a few of their songs before, and I knew that Matt was a good songwriter. I liked the songs, and so we just got chatting, and then I was like, look, why don't I come and have a jam with you, and we'll see how it goes. And up until now, they've never asked me to leave, so I assume I'm in.
Not officially in. They haven't asked you to stay.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm giving you a 5-year contract.
No, I haven't signed anything.
So how was it then being the new boy on the block? Was that tough? Because they're quite established.
Well, do you know what? It wasn't, because at that particular time they did have a manager, and they were actually managed by do you know a band Alt J? Do you know the band Alt J? They were managed by their management, and they were still really young, and I'd been in a band before that had like management and a booking agent, and not really done anything, but I'd like seen into the industry like a tiny amount. And so basically they got dropped by their manager just as I joined, and I was like, God, that's annoying. But then the whole plan as the Amazons was just to strip everything back, get our sound and what we wanted to do correct, and then we just felt like the industry would kind of come to us in a weird way, and like, because we kind of had a few contacts here and there in the industry, once we were confident of what we were doing, that thing happened where we did a gig, and there were music industry people coming to the gigs, people emailing us, there was interest, and it kind of happened really organically that way. Does that answer your question? I think
that does. And I'm just wondering, is there a gig where you were playing and it actually hit home that we're onto something here, we're a good team?
There's been a couple of moments, definitely in the last few years. Playing Reading Festival last year was a moment, because we've played Reading Festival 3 times now, and we've worked our way up from the BBC introducing stage and having like friends and family watching you and no one really knowing who you are. Then we did the Festival Republic stage the next year, which is the next biggest stage, and the tent was like flooded. Everyone was saying like the Amazons should have been playing a bigger stage this year, but we put that down to home advantage. And then we went and did the Radio 1 stage. Was it last year? I think. Yeah, last year. And again, like, that was just a pinch me moment for all of us, going like, wow, okay, you kind of feel like it's connected with enough people to have this many people coming to watch you, but you still think every time you go out, I always still think no one's going to turn up. I always think like, oh, there's so many other bands on, why are they going to come and watch us? But that was definitely a pinch moment. And also the John Peel stage at Glastonbury in 2017, after our first record came out, because that's kind of the same stage as the NME one, but we did that on the first record, and again didn't expect really anyone to turn up. Glastonbury's so massive, there's so much going on, but we were just like bowled over really by the people, like the amount of people that turned up to watch us. So
That must have been a pinch yourself moment. You stood there on the stage at Glastonbury. That must have been like, wow, this is really big.
It was it was a weird experience because we were all like completely like beside ourselves to be playing Glastonbury. And then we had so many technical difficulties during our set that when we came off, the whole experience
Really?
was marred by that. And
Oh,
it's like until like we've got unfinished business with Glastonbury Festival, like so we need to go back and sort things out really with Glastonbury. And it was the same actually with Reading. Uh, Up until a certain point, like Reading had been like a bit of a I don't know what the word is, a bit of a jinx gig for us because it was always a hometown gig. You know, all your mates, friends, family come to that particular show.
Yeah.
And even from the small level gigs playing like sub 89 in Reading, there's always something that would go wrong with it. And I think there was one particular Reading, it was the Festival Republic stage, I think, when we played Reading Festival on the first album, and we had just like such an amazing gig, and we've broken the back of the Reading jinx now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Glastonbury one was just kind of like, if you watch it on YouTube, you might not think anything's going wrong, but there is like behind the scenes is just like us grimacing basically.
do you look back at it fondly now, or do you still think, oh my god, everything went wrong that could go wrong?
No, I do. I look back at it fondly, but I also want to go back and make amends. But it's probably only in our opinion that it went wrong. Like
Yeah.
people watching probably won't know that. But yeah, I think it was it was a really, again, like a line in the sand for us as a band to be able to play the John Peel stage at Glastonbury. Like not many bands get to say that they've done that. So even if
Absolutely.
we didn't go back for whatever reason, we can say that we have done it. So
Absolutely. You mentioned it earlier, Joe, the trip to America recently. How was that? And tell us a bit more about that. What's it like going away with three of your best mates?
Well, do you know what? Like, we're very lucky in this band. We don't really have many arguments. And I think everyone realizes that when you spend so much time together, people need their own space. And, if someone doesn't particularly want to go to do something when you arrive at a hotel, then it's like, cool, you can chill. It's not like, oh, why aren't you coming out or whatever.
Yeah.
But so there was no real arguments throughout the whole 6 weeks. No one really got on top of each other. But we just had the most amazing time. It felt like a lad's holiday for 6 weeks. And
that's what I'm thinking. That's how I'm imagining it.
I would be lying if I said that it felt like actually working, because it's just because we were supporting as well. We were supporting a band called Dirty Honey, and we just had to roll up like pretty late, do a late sound check, play, and then load out. And it was kind of like the old days, because we're very lucky that in the UK at least we're at a position where we have amazing crew members that help to make sure our kit is like perfect every night. The sound's great. Whereas going over to America for the first time was like starting again, and it was like all of us just like loading our stuff onto the stage, really quick sound check, trying to just get away with like, if your mix wasn't quite right or all that kind of stuff. And that's really exciting again, because it was kind of like, what could go, something might go wrong, but there's like this kind of, I don't know how to describe it, like this train with the wheels slightly kind of shaking, and you're not sure if one's going to fall off or not the whole time. But we saw some amazing places. I mean, Denver was particularly one of my favorite places. That's a beautiful place. Michigan is cold. Chicago is freezing cold. What else was cool? We had a lovely little break in New York actually, where like my wife flew out and some of the other lads' girlfriends flew out to New York, and we had like a bit of a break there. It was about 4 days in the middle of the tour, which was perfect, because it just like kind of allowed everyone to reset and see some other faces.
And how do you think the Americans took to you?
I mean, the reception we had, we couldn't have asked for any better, considering it was our first proper time going over there. We've done We've done two festivals in America, and they were both in Austin, Texas. And we've done couple of headline shows in New York and one in LA. That's all we've done previous to this tour. And honestly, like the amount of people after the gig we were chatting to, and we were out there selling merch and like, you know, really getting down and dirty and chatting to people, and they were just like, we love your type of music. Like it's more suited to an American market. We've always thought that, but you don't know until you kind of go and test the water.
Absolutely.
But the other thing is with all of this is like, it's very easy to forget another British band going over to America, and you've just got to keep going back, and it's such a massive place.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a reason I think British bands tend to struggle to really break America, is just because, one, the cost of getting there and being there for such a long time, and three, it's just such a massive country. I mean, we did 6 weeks and didn't even break like anywhere in the middle, or really like we didn't do any of the Carolinas. There was so much we didn't do. So yeah, you know, it's just an amazing place.
Sounds like no one's going to have to twist your arm too hard to get yourselves back out there and
no, I don't. Even if we had to do it again, like we just have, like, and we'll multiple times before anyone kind of takes us too seriously. But yeah, some amazing. We met some amazing people as well. Like, there's definitely a Southern hospitality thing that, like, when people talk about that in Texas and places like that, and that is 100% the thing. You can see people's demeanors change as you travel kind of away from it and up the East Coast, and you get to New York. And, you know, not saying all New Yorkers, but, you know, there is a stereotype of brash New Yorkers and stuff. And I remember having breakfast in this place one day, and this guy literally threw my plate of food down in front of me. And I just started laughing. I was thinking, I'm spending my money here and you don't care. But yeah.
How is it leaving? You say you got young kids, Joe. What's it like having to leave your wife and young kids?
That was really tough, because that was the longest that I'd been away from them, and the longest that my wife would kind of have to look after them without me being there.
Yeah.
And we're really lucky that we've got like an amazing support network around us. Her mum lives really close to us. Her sister lives really close to us. So we had plenty of hands, and my mum would come up from the West Country a couple of days a week to help. But yeah, it was tough. But with, you know, with FaceTime and things like that, like now makes it slightly easier, because we'd FaceTime or talk every day. So I didn't feel too much like I was missing out on their kind of progress, if you know what I mean. Because sitting in 6 weeks when a kid's like, you know, 15 months old, you can, like, they're moving at such a rate, you can miss stuff. But yeah, we FaceTime every day. I think Charlotte found it particularly difficult because they were both not sleeping that well, and I think teething and stuff at the time. And then for me, not really like being able to like hold them or be able to do stuff with them was pretty tough. But
and then you have to downplay how much fun you're having and how well the tour's going.
That's exactly what you have to do. Yeah, you don't want to let on too much. You're having a really great time. That's for sure. Brilliant. But, you know, I think now we've done like that 6 week stint. I think anything shorter than that now will feel easier, and the twins are sleeping much better now. So.
It's definitely good news. So I just want to touch on the schedule, because Jack and I were looking at your schedule for the back end of 2019, and you did, I think in November, you did 11 nights out of 14.
Yeah.
How do you motivate yourself to keep going night after night and just try and make each one as good as, if not better than, the night before?
Tequila, usually. But no, I don't, you know what? There are moments in tours where, like, one night you're not particularly feeling it, and I don't think there's any way you can put your finger on it, or it's not because the band are playing worse, or you know, if anything, we always get better as the tour goes on, because you naturally are playing the same set every night, more or less. We change it up sometimes. But it's new faces, it's a new crowd, it's a new place, and there are crowds that are, you know, particularly more boisterous, I guess, than others. You know, Manchester's always really good for us, and Glasgow's always good. We had a wicked gig in Norwich, of all places.
Oh no, don't say that.
Oh, is that not good?
I'm an Ipswich man.
Oh, okay. We had a terrible time in Norwich.
Thank you. That's better. So actually, that's interesting because Jack and I, as I said, we're doing some research and we were talking about how the Brixton Academy is our favourite venue. Have you got a favourite venue to play at?
Have I got a favourite venue to play at? I mean, Brixton was one that I think every band wants to tick off the list, and like arriving there, you know, pre-show and stuff, and you're walking through the corridors and like the history that have walked that same walk that you've done. I don't want to, you know, kind of romanticize about it, and it is all of that, I think. But I really loved. We played a gig at Manchester Albert Hall, which is a converted church in Manchester, on the first album tour, and that was just a real moment. I remember looking around at that thing, and like it's kind of seating around the edge. It's kind of like an oval shape, I guess, inside. And that was the first time I kind of looked up and was like, man, this is pretty surreal, this whole thing. I love that venue. I love Alexandra Palace for watching bands.
Yeah, it's a great venue.
What else? I mean, I'm only talking about London ones really, because I only really go to London to watch gigs. I guess festivals and stuff I managed to see bands, but in terms of venues, yeah, Ali Pali I love, and the Albert Hall, yeah, in Manchester, I think.
I saw Vampire Weekend at Ali Pali. It was one hell of a gig.
Yeah, they managed to. It's a really good venue for being able to like. They can either make it smaller or bigger quite easily, depending on where they put the stage. And I never felt like I've only seen a couple of bands there, but the main one I saw Tame Impala there, and I stood to the left-hand side and then kind of moved to the middle and then moved in a bit. And at no point there was no bad view, if you know what I mean. I felt like I could see everything that I needed to see, which I think is always a good sign of a good venue.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So Joe, obviously put the uncertainty to one side. What do you hope the next year holds for the Amazons?
Well, I think I don't know how much we can say in terms of like what the touring schedule looks like and stuff like that, but I think quite a lot of festivals generally are trying their best to hold on to the lineups that they already had implemented this year. So I'm hoping that what didn't happen this year we will be able to do next year. And for us, it's just, you know, we're just going to be focusing on writing now. I think the next couple of weeks, maybe we're going to try and sort our rehearsal room out so that it's, you know, safe distances and stuff like that, because we've all not seen each other for however long. So Matt's living in Brighton, and no one ever knows where Elliot's been. So I think we'll try and sort that out and get writing some new music. Basically, Matt's been bunkered away. I've heard bits and bobs that he's demoed and got, so we're almost at a stage now where we can go in as a full band and start cracking on with some of the ideas, which is exciting.
Sounds like exciting times, and we'd love to come out and watch you on your next tour in the States. It sounds like it would be good. We always finish off with a question on our company, FCE. So what we do is we run bespoke hospitality days at major events.
Cool.
And we leave nothing to the customer, so we sort everything out for them. So Joe, if we could give you an FCE experience at any event in the world, where would we take you?
For me, and this is, I reckon, only in the last maybe 2 years I've really got into it, and I've now got the rest of the lads into it, is the NFL. So it would probably have to be the Super Bowl, I'd imagine.
Amazing.
That would be...
Who's your team?
I'm a Patriots fan, but only because my granddad is actually from Boston. So
Okay.
as a small child, it was like Red Sox, Patriots, and
Yeah.
Celtics, and the Bruins. And I actually managed to see the Bruins play the Redskins when we were in. Not the Redskins, sorry. I saw the Bruins play the Red Wings in the ice hockey.
Yeah.
Where are they based? The Red Wings?
I don't know.
Washington, isn't it?
Oh, I can't remember where the hell we were, but
but
that was cool. So I'd never seen the NHL before, so that was great. But yeah, for me, I managed to get to one of the London games, not this last time, but the time before.
Yeah.
For the NFL, which is amazing, but the Super Bowl, that's the one you want to be at, really.
They do it properly, don't they?
Do it properly.
I'd want to be there for all the like tailgate parties and all the preamble as well, just the whole shebang.
There you go. You have to play the halftime show one day. That'll be the aim as the band.
That is probably on our agenda at some point.
That would be amazing. Cool. Well, that's a great shout. Thank you so much, Joe. That was really enjoyable.
No worries. It was great to speak to you guys.